Hey folks, this is Kalani. The Legion Remix event started up this week and it's already seen some massive changes, including some huge nerfs for the gearing up process that could slow things down quite a bit. We also have our first look at patch 11.27 and the new content coming our way on December 2nd, and everyone will be able to hop on the PTR and check out the new housing system next week, even if you don't have access to alpha or a midnight pre-order, so that's going to be very interesting. There's a lot to talk about, so let's break it all down in this week's WoW news video. Now before we jump in, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. To start with, the Legion Remix event went live this week and there have been quite a lot of changes and bug fixes since the event started. One of the largest changes is a huge nerf to the gear rewards from the Mythic Plus system in Legion Remix. Running keys will no longer reward you with any actual gear whatsoever, which is a huge change considering Mythic Plus was the only way to kinda skip ahead and get item levels quite a bit higher than what you currently have equipped. Previously, Mythic Plus would reward every member of your party with a piece of gear at an item level that was dictated by the key level of the dungeon, so your gear didn't really matter at all. If you ran a plus 30 key, you would get item level 675 gear at the end no matter what. This let you skip ahead with gearing so long as you could clear higher key levels. This also allowed some people to boost other players or alts. If you could carry one player through a plus 20 or plus 30 key, they could skip over a huge chunk of the gearing up process, and every other reward that works off of your highest item level piece of gear, like combining motes or opening infinite chests, would now reward items at those higher item levels as well. I guess the dev team were unhappy with how quickly some players were gearing up using these methods, so now Mythic Plus dungeons just reward you with motes instead of that fixed item level gear. That means Mythic Plus is now just another source of random gear generation that will track your current gear and reward something at the same item level or a tiny bit higher. Now, I will be very interested to see if they update gearing in Legion Remix as a whole after these nerfs, because it does leave some players significantly ahead of others without a decent way to catch up. This kind of thing did happen during the Mists of Pandaria event, and not only were the players who got super far ahead of others in terms of gear and progression rolled back, but the dev team introduced some bonuses for everyone who was left behind, so we may see some updates come through next week to speed things up a bit. There was also the problem where pretty much only tanks were able to complete the higher key levels, which also created a tank-only meta, so it was very difficult to do any high-level keys if you weren't playing a tank specialization. I guess we'll have to wait and see if they do change anything, but for now, just know that gearing from Mythic Plus just changed drastically, and it probably won't be worth the effort if you were hoping to skip ahead in item levels. Now, another important change is that the number of gear ensembles that you'd have to buy to unlock every reward was cut down to about a quarter of the previous amount thanks to the new transmog changes coming in midnight. Now when you unlock the appearance of a mythic piece of gear, you'll also get the heroic, normal and LFR versions as well, with one of the main rewards being every difficulty's colour variation for the old raid sets. A lot of folks were asking whether they should just buy the mythic version and would that unlock everything. Well, the dev team must have had a bit of a moment, because now you can only buy the mythic versions of the raid ensembles and that will unlock everything for you, so a smart change there to make sure players aren't wasting their hard-earned bronze. Any rewards that are specific to Legion Remix, meaning they can only come from this event and are not just an easier way to acquire an existing item, will now be clearly marked with some new green text that says Legion Remix at the top of the tooltip, so it may be worth picking these types of rewards up first, just to make sure you don't miss anything that is exclusive to the Legion Remix event, like the Fel-themed class mounts. The Sands of Time Mythic Plus affix was also fixed to not deal damage if you actually handle the affix properly. You're just supposed to soak the orb to prevent the group-wide damage, but that damage was going out anyway, which made Mythic Plus keys quite a bit harder than they were supposed to be. But that's been fixed, so Mythic Plus should be a bit easier now that the affixes actually work properly. Another huge change comes in for the Fel trait row for your artifact weapons. Apparently the demon summon wasn't scaling properly depending on your class or spec, so a lot of melee were doing crazy amounts of damage by using the Fel row, while certain casters weren't seeing the same kinds of results. Those scaling problems should now have been fixed, which kinda just makes the Fel row the best in slot for any DPS especially. So if you were hearing that the Fel powers were super OP, but they weren't really doing much for you as a caster earlier on in the event, maybe try the Fell row out again and see if those bug fixes have changed anything for you. It will be interesting to see what updates we see to Legion Remix next week, because there have been quite a few pain points so far. Tanks seem to be dominating the end game quite comfortably, with a lot of high-end Mythic Plus keys literally only accepting tanks for their groups, so I imagine we might see some rebalancing on that front. There's also been one clear winner as far as artifact traits goes so far in the event, and it seems like if you aren't running the Fell row, you're kinda doing it wrong, especially now that the damage has been fixed for classes that it wasn't working properly for previously, so hopefully we'll see some power added in for the other trait rows to change things up a bit. Now in other news, patch 11.2.5 may have just gone live, but the dev team are already setting things up for patch 11.2.7, and we now know what our last patch for the War Within will include. The Brawlers Guild will finally be returning with new bosses, a few swaps in the boss rotation, and additional improvements. So that's always exciting. These one-on-one boss battles are usually a lot of fun, and we haven't seen the Brawlers Guild for quite a while now. New rewards include House Decor, so that's probably going to be a new reward type that will be added into almost every type of content, as well as a recolored flying mount and a new color variation for Bruce. The Turbulent Timeways event will also be returning, giving us another back-to-back time-walking event with all new rewards. We'll see Shadowlands added into the time-walking rotation, with 6 dungeons to revisit. The Necrotic Wake, the Spires of Ascension, Plaguefall, The Other Side, the Halls of Atonement, and Sanguine Depths will all be added to the time-walking dungeon pool. We'll also have a new time-walking vendor for Shadowlands with some fun goodies to pick up, including some new mounts, pets, and toys, so be sure you save up some time warp badges to pick up any of these new rewards. We'll also have 4 new mounts tied to the Turbulent Timeway event itself. They're themed after the 4 Covenants of Shadowlands, and they're going to work a little differently from previous Turbulent Timeways event mounts. To buy any of these mounts, you'll need a special new voucher, and we might only be able to pick up 1 voucher during the event, so you might have to wait to pick up the other 3 mounts until the Turbulent Timeways event rolls around again. We're not too sure on that though. We will have to wait and see when the event goes live in patch 11.2.7. This patch is also going to introduce something we haven't seen in a little while, a new Heritage armor set. This time the Pandaren are the lucky race getting their special armor set, and this one comes in 3 different faction related colours. So you've got the blue set for the Alliance, a red set for the Horde, and a black set for the Wandering Isle to emphasise their neutral beginnings. So Heritage armors haven't been forgotten about. We're also going to see some new lore-walking stories added in patch 11.2.7 that go over the origins and story of the Blood Elves and Void Elves, including a retelling of the Scourge attack on Silvermoon City and the Lich King's assault on the Sunwell. So those are stories from all the way back in Warcraft 3. If you aren't up to speed on some of the older lore in Warcraft, this should provide a great recap of why the Sunwell is so important and what has happened to it in the past, and also why the Void Elves aren't exactly super welcome in Silvermoon City. I'm really happy to see more and more stories being added into the lore walking feature. It really is a great way to get everyone caught up on the most important story plot points for upcoming expansions or patches. That's not the only story content to look forward to though. The War Within campaign continues in patch 11.2.7. Vereesa Windrunner has been stricken with visions of a new threat, a dire prophecy of Quel'Thas's fall, so we'll have some new story quests that lead us back to the home of the Blood Elves to see what might be threatening the Sunwell. This should lead quite nicely into the Midnight pre-patch event and the story of the Midnight expansion itself, so I'm looking forward to see how all these pieces fit together. This patch will also include early access to housing, so if you have pre-ordered the Midnight expansion, you'll be able to set up your neighbourhoods or join a public neighbourhood if you don't have a guild or private one to join, secure your plot, and you can start decorating. If you don't have Midnight yet, you can still visit neighbourhoods and complete some activities and quests relating to the system, but you won't be able to buy a plot or start decorating your house. Everyone will be able to start collecting various decor items from legacy content and from professions at the very least, so you don't miss out on everything if you don't have a pre-order, which is nice to see. Now that's everything we know so far about patch 11.2.7, and we won't have to wait very long to see these features hit live servers. Patch 11.2.7 should go live on December 2nd, so just before the holidays, which will give us plenty of time to collect decor and get our houses all decked out. While we're on the topic of housing, the latest alpha build included our first look at how editing the exterior of your house is going to work. For decor pieces, it seems to be exactly like the inside of your house. You open your list of collected decor, pick whatever you want to showcase in your garden or yard, plop it down, and you can move it around or scale it up and down as you see fit. So you can half bury things in the floor, have things poking out of your house, build towers or ladders or whatever you really want. There does seem to be a height limit, which is about twice the height of your actual house, so you can't build a stairway to heaven or anything too crazy, but you are given quite a bit of freedom. As for the house itself, you can find the Edit Exterior button down at the bottom of your options, and if you click that, you'll be given a closer view of the house itself. The exterior of your house has all of these white yellow dots where you can change things, so it's very similar to the floor plan editor for the interior. For the roof, you can add chimneys or windows, and we'll have plenty of different visuals to collect, and remember that each faction should have 2 different race themes to start with, so we should have human and night elf for the Alliance and orc and blood elf for the Horde. Not all of that is available to test just yet, and we don't have many of these options unlocked, so we mainly only get to see how changing the look of your house functions. So it's not quite as flexible as the decor side of things, but I'm sure you can still use decor to spice up the exterior of your house a little bit as well. As for rotating your house or changing where the entrance is, there's a dot for that as well, so you can place your entrance wherever you want, though it does seem like we are limited to just one entrance right now, so you'll have to pick the side that lines up with your plot the best. Now, if you just can't wait until patch 11.27 to check out the housing feature, I have some good news for you. The dev team will be stress testing the housing system on the PTR next week. So from Monday the 13th to Thursday the 16th, housing will be available to test for everyone. You don't need a midnight pre-purchase to test on the PTR, so you can just jump in and see how things are shaping up. Depending on how things go, you might want to pick up midnight a bit earlier so you can join in on the housing fun when patch 11.27 goes live. Now, I will say, with this being a stress test on the PTR, I wouldn't expect things to go perfectly smoothly. There may be disconnects, things may be a bit broken, and it might not include all of the housing system. Not everything was included for the first alpha build, so it will be interesting to see what this PTR build looks like, but if you're interested in the housing system, or you want to see if the midnight pre-purchase would actually be worth getting for the early housing access in patch 11.27, this PTR window is your best chance to get a feel for everything, and whether it's going to be something that you enjoy. But that's all of the updates that we have to go over, so that's it for this week's WoW News video. Are there any specific changes you would like to see for the Legion Remix event relating to leveling, gearing, powering up, artifact trait balance, or maybe something else? And are you going to check out the housing feature on the PTR this week? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you can find links in the description or click the join button just below the video. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful in any way, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you're always kept up to date. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.